Hey, what's up, friends? It's BC from Alloy 7, and thank you for tuning into Gamer Life. This is our story, and we're up on level 3. Today's topic is going to be seeking solace. You may be wondering why I'm at the Vietnam Memorial here in Washington, D.C. in the cold in the middle of the night, and it's because my story of seeking solace starts with combat. Now, for you, maybe your story of seeking peace in your life has nothing to do with combat. Maybe you experienced something traumatic. Maybe you lost a friend. We've all been through things in our lives as gamers and as human beings that are challenging to deal with, and thus make us want to reach out for something that will bring us peace. And in today's episode, I want to talk to you about a couple of the things that have helped me do that. So I went to see American Sniper with my wife today, which, by the way, everybody needs to go see that film without a doubt. And there's one scene in particular that really stood out to me, because if you know Chris Kyle's story, he has trouble acclimating to life back at home after he's been downrange and been charged with protecting the lives of hundreds and hundreds of men. And all of us that have been in that combat environment understand that. And it's hard for all of us to come back to this world where things don't matter the same way. And it's not to say that other people's lives don't matter, the things they experience don't matter, but when every decision that you're making can affect the life of another human being that you are responsible for protecting, it gives you a sense of levity to every decision that you make, so that when you come home and the decisions you're making are whether or not you want to go to somebody's birthday party, you can't give it the same weight. So it makes it hard for you to really connect with other people who are living their lives back here. And so he's going through that transition. He's struggling to connect at home, but over the course of the movie, he starts to get better. And I'm not going to spoil too much for you, just to give you a little bit of background here. But there's a scene where his wife reaches out to him, and you have to forgive me if I get a little choked up during this part, because I've lived through this. And he starts to get better, and she says, you know, she expresses that she loves him, but she says that I really appreciate how hard you're working to come back home to us. Because throughout the course of the movie, she's saying you have to figure out how to come home. And that's true for all of us, regardless of whether our experiences are as traumatic as his, or in my case, probably nowhere near his, but traumatic in my own way. And she's like, I really appreciate how hard you fought to get back home to us. I know it wasn't easy for you. And that really touched me, because it was like, I understand that. And my wife tells me all the time now, where I'm at today, you know, that she is glad to have her husband back. And it's a hard, long road, believe me. And maybe what you're dealing with out there has nothing to do with any of that. But whatever it is that you're dealing with, there's ways that we can achieve the solace and the peace that we look for. And so that's the backstory. So how does this relate to gaming, right? So in my case, it actually relates to music, gaming, and my faith. And music, back in 2004, shortly after I got home, there was an album that came out from a group called The Foreign Exchange, led by Fonte and produced by a guy named Nicolay from the Netherlands. And everything that happened in that album just totally spoke to where I was in my life at the time. And at that time, I was an aspiring musician as well, both a rapper and a singer. I hadn't started playing with the band that I was in for a couple years after that quite yet, but I was on my road to that. And then everything in this album, I swear I must have listened to it 100 times, back to back to back to back, because the message that was in there was exactly where I was living my life. And then you bring in games, because it's just gamer life after all, like Oblivion, games that allow me to escape into another world, into a place that's nothing like the one I'm in, but where the dangers and some of the threats are very similar, even if virtual, to the threats that we experience downrange in a combat environment. So third, and most importantly, the factor that's helped me to achieve the solace and the peace that I have today is my faith in God. You see, when I first came home, and for many years, I got self-absorbed. I got so self-centered because I had tried to relate to the world outside around me. I tried to be the kind and generous person that I believed that I was, but because I couldn't connect, because I couldn't relate to the things and the people that were around me, I went inside myself and became so self-centered, so selfish, and with everything, my time, my attitude, everything. And I wasn't grateful for the things that I believed that God had put into my life. And my faith never stopped, but I wasn't walking. You've probably heard the proverb that faith without works is dead. And fortunately for me, at least in the way I believe in things, I believe that God put people in my life, mentors, that could help me out of some of the emotional and mental strife that I was living in and that I was putting myself in. And I have a great bill of debt to pay these folks for setting me free in ways that I couldn't imagine of living probably even 5 years ago. And it really helped me to get over the hump. You know, now I'm so grateful for the things that I have, the children and the family that God's blessed me with. And I'm even grateful for my experience. I'm no longer resentful or bitter that I had to go down range, much like these guys did once upon a time. I'm thankful that I was there to be with the men that I was with at the time I was there. I'm thankful that I got to come home when close friends of mine didn't, whether they were killed by IEDs. I have friends who've been shot that I was in combat with. I have a friend that I work with now who was shot actually in the face. And I'm not saying that to try to sensationalize this, just to paint the picture that I'm finally in a place where I'm grateful for what I have, that my faith has now been set free by the people that God has put into my life to help me get out of me and start giving back some of this gift that he's given me. I mean, I owe it to all of these men, not just the guys that I fought with, but everybody on this wall that you can't see because it's dark. I owe it to them to live my life to the fullest because they didn't get to. And that's my story of seeking solace. I can't wait to hear all of your stories about how you've sought peace in your lives, whether it's through gaming, whether it's through music, whether it's through faith, or maybe it's not, maybe it's something totally different. But walk me through a story from your life, something you had to walk through that seemed unbearable, but somehow, some way you got through it. And why not toss in how you use gaming to do that? But that's really all I have from me this time around, my friends. I also want to thank all of you who have taken the time to submit videos, whether it was from episode 1 telling me and us your gaming history, and then episode 2 telling us your favorite games from 2014. I know I threw a total curveball at you guys this time around by coming to the Vietnam Memorial and sharing a heartfelt story from my life. But like I told you guys in the beginning, this vlog isn't just going to be about gaming. And even though this one's related to gaming, the real story here is that we live our lives together. We get to know one another. We get to like one another and thus foster a community around this medium that we love so much. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing if you haven't already. I can't even say the word subscribe because my lips are freezing. So I think that's time for me to go. Anyway, leave your comments in the comment section, and by all means, I can't wait to watch all of your video responses to this edition of Gamer Life. It's BC the Brain Supreme here at Alloy 7, thanking all of you once again for tuning in. We'll see you back on the next one. Peace and Godspeed.